What's really going on, everyone? Back again with a special election preview episode. Before we get into everything, be sure to follow us on all of our social media platforms. That includes TikTok, X, and Instagram at WRGO Pod. Be sure to like, listen, subscribe, and share on all of our audio and visual streaming platforms. That includes especially YouTube, where you can watch all of our videos in full and wherever you listen to podcasts. We are having the pleasure of recording this on Halloween night on October 30th. I have the pleasure of cosplaying as Carl Thomas from the I Wish video. Henry, I'll let you tell the world who you are today.
No, it's just a parody, bro. Y'all know that song "Thief in the Night" by Young Thug, bro.
Topical,
He just got like 15 years of probation off a RICO case.
which I've never heard before.
That's what I'm saying. So this was worthy of mentioning if we gonna talk about some stuff today.
Oh,
Like,
shout out to Thug. He, I guess, beat the case. Like, I don't even know
my
what that
lawyer
means.
Brian still, yeah. Stop
I don't
playing
know
with
what
that
that means
boy.
for the state of Atlanta's justice system or whatever,
The
or the
state of
state of
Atlanta.
Georgia.
I like how you did that.
Justice system, but that's a conversation for another
Boy,
day, I
Well,
guess.
no. So to be honest, y'all don't like not to get too detailed in it, but the original judge that was on the case got thrown off the case because he was being like super petty, not professional. It just was a lot of stuff. And the new judge that got on the case, I'm blanking on names right now, so forgive me, but she was just kind of like fed up with the state and how unprepared they were. And like it was just a lot of per my review. And if you want to catch up on it, I would say check out Daily Thugger on Twitter because he doing the work. But point in case, um, the judge was just like fed up with how unprepared the state was with trying to accuse him of a RICO case, but not having like actual real hard evidence. It was just all circumstantial mostly. So like yeah.
mm, welcome to Henry's legal beat coming next episode. Even
Right.
though
You know
we
what I'm
know
saying? I technically got a JD behind my name.
there is. So we are recording this on, like I said, October 31st. There is a election coming up in T minus 5 days at this point. So as we all kind of prepare, if you will go to our Instagram at WRGO Pod, the three of us voted early. We are going to be dropping this before election day. We encourage all of you to not only vote early, bring someone with you to the polls. If you have questions about where you can vote, go to vote.org where you can find all of the latest information. And hopefully, your state has same day registration if you are not registered to vote yet. So, overall, since we're 6 days out, we can go with a vibe check. Henry, how we feeling?
I'm down here in Georgia, man, and I can tell you, man, it's it's interesting to say because I'm gonna go back to my barbershop. I got my haircut last Thursday. I went to a different barber this time because I mean, y'all know how that goes sometimes. Nonetheless, I was it was like more of a older crowd. I would say between like late 30s, early 40s. Or maybe you got some 50s late in there. It was only one dude that was like, nah, bro, and that ain't got nothing to do with me. And then y'all know I started to like
Certified.
antagonize him a bit. I'm not gonna lie because I just casually spoke to the barber who kind of was like, dang, that's crazy. You ain't gonna vote for your girl Kamala? Like he was like doing it to him because he was like, he voted, but he didn't vote down the ballot. He only voted for the president. Because he didn't. Fonnie Willis, who is the
Mm-hmm.
DA in Atlanta, who is also the DA that's on that third case. That's a lot of, I guess, controversy there. Point in case though, I started to kind of engage him on like, not engage again, antagonize because I talked indirectly to him. I was like, it's crazy to me how like a black man in the South just says that has nothing to do with me because I mean I pay taxes. I want to have kids. I got sisters, nieces. They definitely need to be able to know what's going on or have the right to know what's going on with their body thoroughly, without my say so or any other man say so. My like niece and nephew are in public school now. Granted, that those are things that affect me. So I kind of start going on that point. So it was good to see that people are voting because, like, let's say all the
Mhm.
Kamala rallies that have been here, she's she's had packed houses. When I went to vote, I couldn't get a sticker because they ran out. So it's it feels good, but it's still a little like anxious, because like we see stuff like them blowing up the poll, like not blowing up, but
Mhm.
like they caught them
Ballot box joint.
like, and that's like I stay in Georgia, so that like prompts ideas for
Mhm.
people to go do other things. I feel like maybe, but yeah, I'm optimistic, but it's still anxiety provoking.
Mackenzie, where's the mental?
I'm very nervous and anxious.
Yeah.
Like I was okay
Mhm.
going to the polls voting, but then I had recently watched this YouTube show called it's on the channel called Jubilee, and they
Mhm.
had um 30 Republicans and 30
Yeah.
Democrats
Yeah.
going back and forth. And I'm not gonna lie, like the Republicans, had their points. I mean, it wasn't just a yelling match. It was like I feel
Yeah.
like a very great discussion. But in the end, when they voted, the Republicans won. And they won because one, I feel like Trump has just loyal followers, just like in my head, like
Mhm.
how people would just go behind Beyonce because it's just Beyonce. Like it's non-negotiable.
Mhm.
But the Democrats lost because a lot of the Democrats aren't necessarily loyal to Kamala in the same way as Trump supporters are just loyal to him. So a lot of the Democrats, not a lot, but the amount of numbers where it made it very close and they ended up losing because most of them, or not most, but about 4 or 5 people didn't vote. They said that they don't believe in the lesser of two evils. One woman lived in California and she said that I just choose not to vote because I don't really feel like um I like some of her policies. She could be doing more. And I hope that because I live in a blue state, that will be able to, my vote wouldn't matter as much as if I lived in a swing state. So she gave up her vote. And it was a couple of people who did that. And it was that close. Like I think it came out to be 23 voted for Kamala, 26 for Trump. And it just showed the power of a vote, seriously. Like
Mhm.
if they would have just voted and not thought like that, there were other people there was a Native American who was like, I feel like Kamala and the Democrats don't really do anything for Native Americans, which are valid points. But because you didn't vote, Trump still won. So it's just like kind of at what expense? So I don't know. After seeing that, that gave me a lot of pause, a lot of pause.
Yeah, that's interesting because I'm probably in the same camp of like I'm just anxious, and I think it's like I have to challenge myself on this because obviously we went to Howard, and I think everyone is the good thing I'm seeing is that I feel like even on my story for I feel like people who are not necessarily I would consider like political by nature are all posting them at the polls, which I think gets to a sense of enthusiasm. But then I have to remember like, am I just in a unique Howard bubble right now? And I think part of that is true. But I do think that there's an energy amongst people that I think is actually very exciting. But I don't, to your point, Mackenzie, like we're not seeing the other side of this. That's kind of like I have to check myself and be like, hey, who are the people who are actually like on the other side? Are they equally as like ginned up as kind of we are in this unique space? Um, so I'm just nervous. I feel like there's like I feel not, I don't want to say confident, but like I'm excited to kind of just get to the end point because I do hope that I don't think we're going to know the first day, but it's just like that anxiousness of like, and I guess we can get into this because I think it's almost like, and this is part of like the frustration I've been seeing the last couple of weeks. And I think we hit it this pretty early. That like, I don't know what else she can do. I think she's done everything. And I think that's like a real frustration of like, when Joe Biden was the nominee, we were like, yo, you got to get out there. You got to do this. You got to do that. If we ran through the list of things that she's appeared on, done, we'd be reading it for like 3 minutes. I think she's really met everyone where they are and talked about things like I don't. And at that point, I think this is my general frustration. The people who are still like, I don't know, at that point, you're just not doing your part. Like you just don't care. You're being lazy. And that's I think I'm more becoming frustrated with I think the conversation of like she's not doing this, she's not doing that. It's like she's been everywhere talking about everything.
That's what
Like
I was
it,
about to
yeah,
like it gets like she is in multiple different cities, like in the same day sometimes.
mhm,
And she's been on every podcast you can name, but this Joe Rogan guy or Joe, whatever his name is, and like he's making it a whole extra. She
yeah,
come to me and like stupid. Point in case,
yeah.
like she literally has reached out to everybody she could possibly reach out to, and I would say yes. People are like blatantly just being like on some effort stuff, which I don't understand. That is legitimately too much at risk right now.
What
And
do you?
I
You said what about Joe Rogan? She reached out to be on his show.
know that
No, I think
Oh,
there's a
there was conversation
yeah,
maybe had, and he's
but to
doing.
Henry's point, she would have had to go to him in Austin. And at that point, it's like a cost benefit analysis of also like who's the audience for Rogan. I don't think those are necessarily persuadable voters. So it kind of, I mean, he has the biggest podcast, so it's the biggest platform, but like also the things that he cares about. He was supporting Robert Kennedy Jr. So like that's just not worth your time. That's just going to drag
yeah,
you into something of like you getting a polio question. Like what are we talking about?
yeah. I mean, I do think just watching that YouTube video, maybe had she done more right-wing stuff to like at least
I mean, she appeared on Fox News though. That's like
try to,
huge.
yeah. I don't
I
know if she could have done anything else. I really don't think she could have,
I
It's
don't
but
think
just
she
not for
can.
me. It's not even
but
swayed the conservatives. I don't mean to cut
it's
in.
not conservatives, it's
Mm-mm.
swaying Trump voters. There is a difference because one thing that was consistently brought up is that Republicans don't even want to vote for Trump. There's Republicans
Yeah,
voting for Kamala. So it's not even a Republican
It's
Party
the
thing, it's a
undecided
loyal
stuff to
thing
me.
to Trump. What'd you say?
That undecided what's the free
Yeah, on the liberal side, yeah, it is. It's kind of
it's
like
hell that stuff.
like I don't know. It was just complicated because it's just like there was one person who was saying about Palestine and that he didn't like her comments on that. And it was valid because even
it's
during the
valid.
debate,
It's
I
valid.
remember like her answering. I was like, even some of the stuff on
But
gun
this
violence,
becomes
like
my question to people like that on some like for real. You rather just give up your power than attempting to work with somebody that's attempting to maybe whatever like that's my
I want to say
It's complicated. It's
it's
complicated.
not, yeah, I would say it's complicated. And then
no.
I would say some of these reactions were before they found out the results. So hopefully that type of stuff like made people realize the bigger picture because they would justify it in ways where like I live in California, so my vote really won't matter as much.
They're being
And in
somewhat
a way, I
strategic.
guess that true, but like it just is different. And it's also about somebody made this point like this candidate, even if you don't agree with them, can we all agree that this candidate stands for more people than the opposite candidate? Can
Yeah.
we just agree that even if
But
they
that's
have,
that better than worse or better
yeah,
than
or and
equal
then they would
thing.
believe that
And I
I don't
guess
want to
that's
play a
my
part
thing
into
though, because
fighting or voting
during
for
that,
someone I don't like.
my bad, you I
Or
maybe
they
could
would just say that they also don't want to do that because they don't want to exercise their power or their right to vote while also just playing into the lesser of two evils when they don't think that these are candidates at all. So yeah.
Go ahead.
like,
I'll circle
because
back on
this
that.
this is my thing with a lot of what because I watched some of the clips of that. I literally had that TikTok Jubilee on
Mm,
my phone, and then I was just watching
mm.
some of them at work. And a lot of those people don't watch mainstream media. They listen to podcasts, and they're getting selective, maybe even false information. I even went through that like Don Lemon. Is it Lemon?
Lemon, lemon.
Lemon.
I be forgetting
His
his name.
stuff has been all over the place.
Right. So like he's been traveling just as much as Kamala for real, I feel like. But
Yeah.
he I went through a few
Mm,
different political gear podcast things, and um a lot of people that are undecided or on the Trump bandwagon aren't educated. I'm gonna just be honest, like that's the
I don't
real.
think that really matters though at this
But
I
point.
don't think it
yes
does
and
either.
no, what that becomes a factor of how many people are logically thinking about it or trying to be cool and be on this again bandwagon or attempting to like come up with these, oh, I believe in throwing a wrench in the system because the democracy haven't done nothing for us and I'm a this and we have to grassroot these ideas. Like, bitch, be for real. Excuse my language, be for real.
I'm gonna put there is a little bit of truth in that I think is something that can be explored and that has to be explored in the future. And that to that point, I think there are a lot of people, and this is like where I think like Biden just totally, and this, this is all interconnected, where I think Biden also totally misread the whole like, and Democrats generally totally misread like the whole importance of the stimulus stuff. There were a generation of people who never had felt actually government do anything for them. And then for the first time, you get a check from the government. That's your first time actually feeling like, hey, actually, I feel the direct implication from the government doing something. And granted, that's a very layered thing in terms of these other services that they're providing, but it's like that was the first time, like, it's like, hey, government money, you. And I think there is a layer of like disconnect between, I think, actually how people have actually kind of talked about that and understanding of like, yeah, Trump's getting all the credit for the economy, unrightfully so, but like that stimulus meant a lot to people who had probably never actually felt like government has mattered and probably still don't. And until we get probably real about like how people feel disconnected or they don't actually see, hey, here's what we're actually doing otherwise, I think we're still kind of missing the point in a little bit of a sense. But I also think like I've been thinking about this the other day and I've been talking to my mom a lot about it, where I think there is kind of, and I know Mackenzie and Henry, you all hit at this more, where I think there is kind of like there's an additional level of questioning of Kamala that we just don't engage with Trump that I think is now like just becoming super annoying. Where I think it's like, well, what about this and what about this? And someone I was watching something, my mom had sent me something, and it was a black woman who was talking about the economy, and she was like, well, it's the economy, it's been this, it's been that. And my mom's response was like, when has the economy ever necessarily been good for black people? But now we're holding this at Kamala's feet. Like, I don't,
Yeah.
we never think that way in any other terms. Like the economy has necessarily never been good for black people. And like granted,
Yeah.
like that's a very layered type of thing, but now we're holding her at the feet of like, because my pockets are not good, it's all this person's fault. And it's like
Mhm.
our pockets ain't ever been good compared to other folks. So like now, but now that's her fault. It's just really frustrating. Where I think it's like there's a disconnect to like just blame her for everything. And it's like,
Yeah, that's the plight of being a black woman. It's crazy.
yeah. And I don't know what the way is to get out of that. Like I said, I think it's also like, I know Henry, you were talking about this earlier, where it's like I think there's just an aspect of people that they don't want to be pleased or they don't want to take the information as they get it. Where like literally, like, I mean, how many times have the three of us been begging for people to just get out there and do stuff, meet people where they are? Kamala's done, shade room, this, that. She's done literally everything that people have been begging her to do. She's been more visible. People said she wasn't taking questions from the media. She's answering questions from the media. She's been showing up on like stuff solely purposed for us, but now it's not good enough. So then what is it for real? And it's like, that's going to piss me off come election time, where it's like, y'all just didn't want to be pleased at all, or you didn't even want to give her the chance. You were making
I'm
up
gonna
stuff
be
to actually
so
not give her the
sad.
chance.
I'm gonna be so sad. Yeah, I'm actually gonna be really disappointed. Just because, like, we do not want to have him president again. Like, that would be so whack. Like, oh my gosh.
What would be the worst thing about Trump being president?
I just feel like a dark cloud come over all of America for like the next 4 years, and it's raining for the next 4 years, just raining thunderstorms, just
Well, it
like,
wouldn't just be 4 years considering that's Supreme Court. Oh,
well, yeah, but like, that's what I have in mind. Like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this. I just feel like, I don't know, I'm just very nervous because I think that video was accurate. Like, and I said that that's why I don't feel like it doesn't really matter about intelligence anymore, because now that show really just depicted it's a loyalty thing, like a fandom, like some crazy fans who will not stop at any
I
cost. They
mean,
will
you
do
mentioned
whatever it takes.
Beyonce earlier, and
Yeah,
she,
like that, like the Beehive,
what
and then
is the Beehive not gonna fully support Beyonce's endorsement of Kamala?
yes, but it's still like it's not Beyonce though. Like it's still not Beyonce that people are
Beyonce
voting.
don't got more fans than Trump.
But it doesn't matter she's
I'm
endorsing
trolling
someone else.
you.
My point is
I'm
like
trolling. I'm
Trump
trolling.
is the Beyonce.
I'm trolling. I'm trolling.
um,
I mean, honestly, no, he's not. He didn't win the popular vote, so let's be
I
clear.
mean, if
He
I'm
doesn't
talking
have
about
to.
in that YouTube
But no,
video.
that goes to my point of what the real problem is here. And like
Oh, I mean the
she
system of voting and all of
she's
that.
only been asked about it a few times, but like the electoral college control the vote. We all know that. Which
Yeah,
in case, like, I'm pretty sure he just paid a few people the last time to fix a little few things or arrange some
yeah.
negotiations. So like, why wouldn't he do this time? But then they would say, oh well, Biden beat him, but then that becomes like voter turnout, I guess, or
But it was still
loyalty.
very close for
But
Biden.
then
Yeah, I
to
mean
your point
it's
though,
yeah.
Mackenzie, loyalty because Biden has been in this political game for such a long time. So he has a lot of connections and whatever. So like that, honestly, that's what it to me it's some backdoor BS that's about happening.
I mean, I think less so, at least on the
Yeah.
Democratic side. I think like I mean, people were, if Biden was still in it, he would have got his ass kicked by Trump. I don't think people were like
Oh, we know
not,
that. That's why
yeah.
he left.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So I don't think necessarily people were like loyal to him, which is strange. I think there is something like uniquely strange and odd about the Trump thing, which I feel like I'll never be able to actually understand in terms of like the allegiance. But Henry, I want to go back to you because I think you had actually brought something up that's actually I think it's actually interesting, and I feel like we haven't even the national conversation has not really been about this at all. What would you actually be afraid of if Trump got elected? Because I have, I think, a couple things that I'm like actively thinking about, but I feel like
Getting
when we
killed
talk
by the
about Trump,
police. Getting killed by the police. That's number one. Because I stay in Atlanta and these mob around here, if they get immunity, boy, they're gonna go amok. Um, two, I mean, really like just access to opportunity. I don't know how like real time is gonna hit like right now, but essentially, let's say this tax bill that he passed the last time, my taxes went up. I ain't get too much. So like that concerns me. And then again, with the access to opportunity, like the economy has been crazy in terms of getting and securing like good air quote jobs.
yeah, it's actually been like statistically, it's been fine. Like that's another problem, but like statistically, it's been somewhat. It's actually been decent.
Right.
It's just not necessarily trickling down to people, which I think is a larger disconnect.
Right. But I when I say that though, it's like if these companies don't necessarily check for black people now, if they're not held under certain requirements to do so,
They'll have
then
no incentive to do so coming up.
right. So those are like my major direct concerns realistically. And then I guess like corporations ripping us off because he definitely like was not regulating them or trying to regulate them,
Mhm.
especially during COVID. And like like McDonald's costs more than Chili's. I like nowadays. Like fast food restaurants, I don't eat McDonald's. That was a tweet. So to a real experience, I went to Zaxby's. If you're here in the South, you know what that is. I got like a wings and things. Back in the day, that joint was like $10 maybe. That joint was like $15. I was like, what? And then I had to get something else to eat that night. So like
And now we broke.
yeah,
Right.
it's just very expensive to live nowadays. So like for me, I feel like he's gonna allow the price gouging and all of that to go up into like a
It's
realistic
unchecked.
right. I do think Kamala and when we get a Congress, Senate majority somewhere, they'll push for some type of regulation around that stuff.
Yeah, I mean the funny thing is the thing that I've two things. I think the thing that like we haven't no one's actually talked about is like what would he actually do? Like not like outside of the like vengeance type shit. Like he's got to do something, or like rather, or
No, but Noah, this would be my question to you though, because on some like or Mackenzie or whomever, like that's where I'm confused on what are you voting for him for? Because the
And like,
man literally said nothing but, I'm gonna deport people, and he gonna do what? He gonna give rich people tax cuts. Those are the only two things I maybe heard him say in terms of policy. Otherwise, I'm coming after my enemies. We're making America great. This person is stupid. That person is dumb. Like,
and to me, that's the concerning thing is because the government is going to keep doing stuff without him. Like it's just going to be the people who are in place at these different places just doing stuff on his behalf, and he's not even going to be checking for that because he doesn't care. He's lazy. So, like, I think the thing that I'm thinking of, and I think this is the thing that, like, I think Henry, to the point, like in the barbershop, people need to start talking about of like, yo, if you want to have a family in the next 4 years, and and you want to have a child, black maternal health rates are going to decline. Like that is a thing that people need to understand in terms of actual access to reproductive care, actually having possibly a national abortion ban. So like if you actually want to have a family and you're black, it will be harder for you in the next 4 years to do that. Your loved one, your sisters, your aunts will have less access to care under Trump. So if you want to have a family, or if you like to have sex and all of a sudden something do happen or someone get pregnant, you might not be able to get rid of that. People need to actually start thinking about that. Like if you actually want to have a family, build a family, it's going to be a lot harder and a lot more unsafe. And I think as someone who's in their late 20s, like people need to get real about that shit. Like it's not something that's like, oh, we can just pass the buck off. It's like, no, no, no. Like if you actually want to try to do some stuff, like that's what will be impacted. And that's like what I'm thinking of like, yo, if I actually want to do things in terms of like building wealth, being able to buy, get a house, have a family, Trump puts all of that at direct risk for me and for other people around me. And it's like, I don't think we've had that conversation of like, if you are black and trying to have a family, you're in a worse spot with Trump. A
I
lot
mean,
worse.
then that just tells me that you also haven't been paying attention to Kamala because she also has policies that give you a tax credit for
Mm-hmm.
child care and buying a home. So that's why I just be like, all
What
the
you doing?
information is out there. You're just choosing to not make a smart decision maker, because the thing that I will say that people still say and why they still vote for Trump or are interested in him is because they still feel like the economy was better then for small business people and or small business owners and all of these things, and then they blame Biden for this inflation and all this other stuff, and it's just like, okay.
And I think that's the weird thing. It's like
again,
people
but
go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm just gonna say education then, like, because that's when people are not really aware of
Yeah.
what actually happens. Because a president, like the policies that Trump put in place, we're feeling the brunt of that stuff kind of now. It's always after. If we really think about the Obama time, because he did 2 terms, you could say like, okay, that was a decent economy. He did push healthcare. People were able to like raise families for a whole 8 years. You know what I'm saying? For me, that's the only president I can really look at and analyze. Okay, this is who I can blame X, Y, and Z for specifically.
Yeah, because I mean, Obamacare has a direct impact, and people like that was, I feel like, a thing that lasted after him. That's something I can,
Yeah. I mean, if you want
like,
healthcare
it's a
till you're
direct line I
26,
see. That I know that Obama put this in place, and this was clearly sustainable even after his term. Like, I do understand that. Um, but yeah, I would agree, because what was it after Obama? Then it was Trump, and then Biden, and then now we're here. So,
before we wrap up, if you were, you could take this any way you want, be as funny or as serious as you want it to be. Um, if you were Kamala, as we're kind of approaching like the last 4 or 5 days, what do you think your final message would be? She just did the rally at the Eclipse where Trump did his January 6th speech, which I think was kind of really well designed, really well planned. Um, if you were Kamala, what do you think? Like,
5,000
yeah,
plus people.
yeah, like if you were Kamala, what do you think is the thing that you all would say is like your closing? Like, hey, I got one last speech. Here's the thing I want you to think about or take away. What do you think you would say?
I was gonna say this earlier because Mackenzie paused and looking in thin air. Don't let me distract you. I think the thing that people do get irritated about that comes off a little ingenuine is if I've listened to most of or almost all. of the interviews and podcasts and stuff she's been on, and the talking points are so familiar. And like Charlamagne tried to kind of call her out on this, and she was like, "It's discipline," which I hear that and I understand that,
What
but
did he say?
it was basically like people say you say the same talking points.
Oh.
You don't really show personality and all that
I
stuff.
mean,
Ooh,
but
who
that's
said
a
that? Who said
politician,
that?
though. That's a and that's what
Yeah,
I just
that's the
feel
double
like it's
standard. That's a double standard.
yeah, and that's why it'd be like those little things, like, yeah, but like literally, as a person who worked in news, like, and listened to the briefings every day, they all say the same thing.
But that's again access, exposure, etc. Because if
No,
you are,
it's or
The
I'm gonna cut
Charlemagne
off
is
there,
exposed.
but
well,
it's also
no, he was
uh,
basing it on the people.
but I'll say this, but even he needs to do better and be like, that's
Yeah.
racist and sexist because then it's like the same thing of like, if she wasn't prepared for these interviews with Shade Room, with her, with Club Shay Shay, y'all would kill her and say she's got no plan.
Well,
So
no,
do
so
you
like it's not the not prepared.
I
It does.
get what you're saying. They do repeat themselves, but
It come off
politicians
copy
repeat
and paste.
themselves.
Like it was a video on Twitter where they clipped some of her speeches, and they
and you
almost
can do the same thing. Yeah, you could do the same thing.
You
You
could
can
do
like
that with literally any
anybody.
politician. I promise you, any. That's
I'm
why.
not
That's
mad
why
at
I
my
be
girl.
saying.
I'm glad she was disciplined enough to remember all the like talking points. That's like an interview. For honest, if you want to be honest,
It
the
is
same
it
way that
literally
the
and
same way.
that's what
It's
it not to
prep.
cut you off, but that's what
It's
it
prep.
is. Like, you can ask me, if you ask me, tell me about yourself, Mackenzie, I am going to give you the same elevator pitch because that's just my elevator pitch. That's memorized. I've studied my resume enough to also then know any question you ask me, strengths or whatever, I'm going to probably give you the same points. That's just what it is.
Just gonna be in a different way.
Yeah, and that's fair. And that's why it's like it's those little questions that's like that's not fair because I mean everybody be sounding the same. So like whatever.
That's some
Yeah.
real Howard right there, though. Like,
One band, one sound.
Yeah.
Mackenzie, what do you think your like final thing would be if you were
yeah.
you're looking into this like you're grasping at something
I'm
that we
trying to
can't see
really
yet.
think. I'm trying to put myself in her place, honestly. Um,
I'll at least say mine first.
yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
I think the thing that I would try to hone at, and I think this is difficult because I do think like everyone, whether they want to admit it or not, I think everyone kind of knows like Trump is kind of like a shit in terms of like his character. I think that's kind of baked in. But I think she has to tie that in terms of like, hey, I'm using we and you. He doesn't do that. He's saying, I am going to do this. I'm focusing on it's about me. It's about these things. It's about that. I want to help you and like reflect it backwards to be like, here's my message. Here's how I'm going to try to do things for you. Go listen to him and see what he says he would do for you.
Bro, so
Run
not
that, put that face value, and then make the decision of who you want to, who do you think is the best advocate for you. And I think like that's all you can do is just to be like, look, I'm actually here. I'm serious. I don't think you have to get into like the weeds of it all, but just be like, how many times is he actually talking about you? About something that actually impacts the things that you're thinking about, from you getting your, from your kids being able to have the same opportunities you were able to, for you being able to buy a house, for you being able to get medical care. How many times do you think he's actually reflective of your life? I'm aware of these things and I'm going to try to work on them. It doesn't mean I'm going to do them, but I'm aware of the things that you're going through. Watch him and see if he's aware of what you're currently dealing with when you're at your kitchen table paying bills, or when you're in the car before you go into the house thinking about how am I going to pay for my child's school. I know that. I think she needs to. That's I think just her best case of like he's not gonna do shit, and he doesn't want to do it because he doesn't care. He's too selfish enough to see that.
I think she been doing that. Like,
I think she
honestly,
has. I think she has. That would just be my final
also
thing.
funny enough, mentioning Charlemagne, they put him in that commercial that they them. It's a commercial. Donald Trump.
Wait, what?
Yes. So Charlemagne is talking about, I don't want my tax dollars paying for no transgender surgeries. And then it comes this voice like, Kamala's gonna use your tax dollars to pay for state prisoners, transgender, blah blah blah.
Yeah, she's for they, them, not you. It's actually a really effective
Right,
ad. It's really
right,
effective.
right.
Yeah.
It literally
It's
says
a
that.
really good
Yeah,
ad. It's
yeah,
really
I
good.
saw
It
that.
literally says Kamala's for they, them,
Yeah,
not you. And it's
yeah.
like, what it really do catch
Yeah,
you.
no, I've seen it like,
It's the
damn.
best. It's to me, it's the best ad of. It's the best, most impactful political ad of this year. It's like honestly, I think it's brilliant. It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's really good
Wait, for
in a
real?
terrible
It's a
way.
tagline. That tagline, they, them, not you. And then it's just like,
That's
Okay, okay,
gold.
I'll give you
That's
that. I'll give you
that's
that. I was just gonna argue.
they cooked.
Kamala has put out some great content though. Relevant,
Mhm.
relatable, good content. Her ads are good too. But yeah.
Mackenzie, do you feel like you've settled on the
again,
message?
back to what my thing will be. I mean, I guess I do agree with what Noah said, like unity. I mean,
Mackenzie gonna get
it's
up in there and say, "Be fucking for real."
No,
Come
no,
on,
I was
come
about to
on,
say that. If you
no,
want me to
come
give you
I
my
just
thing,
feel like, I mean, there's nothing that she hasn't done that I can't say that I feel like,
I would agree.
and
I would
that's what I'm
agree.
like. You could say you've been in all branches of government, but of course you've been telling you're the most
I don't think
qualified.
that
You
matters.
know
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
I think the best thing, and just once again going back to that YouTube show that they said was, I from both sides, I think that she is the one candidate that is still at least will understand all of us and represent all of us. Like I cannot believe that you would think that this person would really represent you and care about you. Like at least I'm trying, in a certain way. Like at least she's trying to meet you where you will probably sit down and have a conversation with you.
Mhm.
The other candidate, come on now. You can't have like a real conversation. That's the only thing, making it more of a human connection than anything.
you
And maybe
just
she just
I
has to
don't
run
think
through it.
I don't
Honestly,
think
maybe she has to go ahead, Henry.
no, I don't think I was just saying I don't think they're giving her the benefit of the doubt. Like on nobody is. It's either all or nothing, or yeah, nobody's really giving her the benefit of the doubt.
And to me, maybe that's where she has to make that pitch, Mackenzie, and just run through everything. If you're a woman, you can't go see your doctor. If you're Hispanic, you can't, your family ain't coming. Or if you're Puerto Rican, where
So
you
you're
from is a
saying
piece.
before election day, she needs to go through what would happen if Trump becomes president list
I think
in
she kind of
real
needs to
time?
go, or rather, I think she kind of just needs to go. Here's how he actually thinks of you.
That's what she's done that though.
But I think she needs to take the gloves off a little bit more in terms of like just being honest about it. In terms of saying the things that we say in private circles, or probably that she says in private circles. If you black, Central Park Five, this, that, the third, like just go there.
Again, have you what? No, I promise you, if you watch any second, not even any second, if you took the time to like watch the highlights of that
Mhm.
her
She
interviews,
do that. She do that.
I mean, there's
that's where
nothing that she hasn't done. Like that's
that's what I'm
why that's
saying.
hard to say, like,
That's
no.
where I'm like, the only thing she can do is get and beg and plead or cuss y'all the fuck out. It's one or the other.
And look, I
Like
would say
those
do
are the
that.
only
Cussing
She
real
needs.
people out's
shots.
not gonna get it. Cussing people out ain't gonna get it.
Well, no,
I mean, look,
I'm being sarcastical here.
I'm
Because
Sarcastical.
like
also,
two.
I just
I'm
finished.
2% not.
Yeah, I just finished watching the Martha Stewart documentary,
Mhm.
and I think it was just a great depiction of what the outside world thinks of like powerful women who are smart, how you have to approach it. So it's just like I don't think there's anything she can do. Like we just gonna have to see on Tuesday and leave it
You
at
mean
that.
like Thursday for real, but
I was gonna say Saturday.
she if these courts get involved, it
Honestly,
might
I
be
hate to be on
2 months.
that. I don't think we'll know the official count, but I think we'll know where it's headed by Tuesday.
I don't think we will.
Wednesday morning. Wednesday morning we'll have a
I don't think we
feel.
will.
I think it'll be very close, but like I still feel
We'll
like
have an inkling,
no.
but like here's the rub, and this is just for setting expectation setting for everybody. Pennsylvania, which will probably be the state that ultimately decides the election, they can't start counting their early vote and mail-in vote until the polls close on election day by law, which is a terrible law. So they can't probably.
Why?
This place so ghetto. Like
It's the
But
law.
no, why
Whatever
is
law.
Pennsylvania so special?
Every state creates their own election law.
Is that where I feel like because that's where
that was the original
the four
capital of the
founders or
United
the
States.
founders.
Right. That was the original capital, so they want to feel like they're in control and stuff.
What is it called? The forefathers?
Founding fathers.
Yeah. Founding fathers. Them old people who made the country.
Wait.
The reason why we're in this predicament right now.
Right. Ain't it?
Thank you, forefathers, for our electoral college.
Yeah, that's why. Yeah, that is obviously that's where the Liberty Bell is.
Okay, so why haven't they went after the electoral college yet?
That's a conversation for another day.
That is a bonus episode that we will never do.
That's too much.
Well, that concludes our episode. Be sure to be on the lookout and keep us posted on all of your social media. That includes TikTok, X, and Instagram, where we will be keeping you all posted on interviews that happen, election news. Be sure to follow us on all that. We will be keeping you all posted and updated. Be sure to watch this episode on wherever you listen to podcasts. That includes YouTube and any streaming platform. We will be booked and busy, and we'll probably have something else that we'll do after the election or once we finally do get a result. But as always, be sure to vote. Go to vote.org if you want to vote, and please don't fuck around. Don't make me mad.
Tag us with your costumes. Happy Halloween.
Yes, happy Halloween.